Welcome, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning. So I'm Richard Bucciarelli. I'm going to be hosting and moderating this discussion, and I'm very pleased to be joined by John Harley and Marvin Diercks. And I'll introduce John a bit more formally in a minute, but I'd like to start with Marvin, who it's a maybe a little known fact, but Marvin was the original president of the National Soccer Coaches Association of Canada, founded or helped to found the association along with Tony Waiters and John De Benedictis and some others a little while ago. And Marvin is also involved directly with Complete Sports Solutions, who have partnered with us to provide not only this and other online coach education, but also some in-person, a really exciting in-person coaching education and coach development opportunities overseas for Canadians in the UK. So I thought I'd let Marvin speak a little bit more about that to anyone who's watching, listening at home, and anyone who sees this recording, and then we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Richard. I really do appreciate the introduction. And yes, I cannot deny that I was the original founding president of the NSCAC many, many years ago, back in 1994. So it's a shady memory, but pretty exciting times. It's so good to see that the organization is thriving as it is. Having said that, I currently represent Complete Sports Solutions in Canada. We are a elite tour business, and we are delighted to be able to partner with NSCAC in support of coaching education in Canada. This is the inaugural seminar with our featured guest, John Harley, and we hope the first of many over years that will bring those that are involved in coaching and administering the game at the highest levels to our membership. And so in support of coaching education in Canada, I want to welcome you all and introduce you to CSS. The last thing I'll mention is that we'll end our commercial break, if you like, is that we are offering NSCAC on tour in the spring of 2025. It's 10 days in the UK, loaded with coaching education seminars, training observation, games, lots of time for sightseeing and socializing as well, but a coaching education immersion opportunity. And if you'd like to know more about it, just go to the NSCAC website and click through on the CSS links and reference NSCAC on tour, and we'll share all the information with you. Also, if you have clubs or teams that are interested in travel, we'd like you to think of us first. And again, information opportunities available on the website. Richard, I hope I haven't taken too much time around that. Everybody's quite excited to hear John, I'm sure. And I should probably just get out of the way now.
Not a problem at all. Thank you, Marvin. All right, so it's just video, and I'll quickly introduce our guest today, John Harley, who has had, and I believe I counted correctly, is about a 16-year professional playing career in England, right?
So, yeah.
with several different clubs, including Chelsea and including a club, Portsmouth, where he's now the assistant coach. So a successful playing career at the highest level, and coach, of course, a coaching career also at the highest level. And we're very happy to be joined by John, and with a very interesting topic of discussion, I think, for coaches, which is goal kicks. Why play short? So welcome, John, and maybe you have the question up on the screen now, so perhaps you can get started with that.
Okay, no, well, thanks for having me to start with, and also, to everyone who's come on, it's great because it doesn't sound like an interesting subject. I'm going to talk for 45, 50 minutes or whatever it may be about goal kicks. It doesn't sound fun, but it genuinely is something I feel quite passionately about, and I think the more we can educate not just coaches but even fans why we do it, the better we can improve the game more so. So before I even start, just a little bit of context about how this came about. So I actually retired from playing probably, I think it was like 10 and a half years ago. My last actual playing club was Portsmouth. So I went into Chelsea, and I'd been coaching there for 10 years. And as they do with a lot of their coaches, after a period of time, rather than just have you coaching consistently, kind of like 1 year follows into the next year, after a period, they like to take a coach and take him away from working within the academy and expose them to something else. So as an example, with one of the coaches about 5-6 years back went to work as a first team coach at Vitesse Arnhem in Holland. Done a really good job, actually. I think they won their first trophy in 100 years. One of the coaches took a year out to go and study a link between American sports and how we can bring sort of the individual program they have within their training into football, and also within that period work with the England, I think it was under 18 set up. So coaches that do various things too. I was pulled in after 10 years anyway, and kind of been told that I wasn't going to be coaching for next season. So I was really disappointed at first, but the idea is to develop me. And what I was asked to do amongst many projects was to go into various clubs and just to see what we can take from their technical program to add to ours. This is at Chelsea, obviously. So within that period, the constant issue that clubs were having was about goal kicks and how they were struggling, how the fans were always getting on their back. But the coaches, the teams I wanted to go to, played football the way that I want football to be played. So they all wanted to play short. So it was a real issue. So I decided basically just to study it, and all my study visits were around goal kicks, and I'll add to it build-up phase because they're linked. The only difference, obviously, a goal kick you can be offside, build-up phase offside comes into play. That's apart from that, everything's exactly the same. Obviously, you've got the 18-yard box as well, but they're really strongly linked. So within them studies, these were I'd probably attach Portsmouth to that now because they've given me the platform to put everything into practice. But within the studies, obviously working at Chelsea, I've spent a lot of time with the stats department there, and the analysts, and they went through. The computer literally was left, I think, for about 3 days solid. He put a program in, and it studied. So within this program, over the course of, I think the rule change for goal kicks was in 2019, and we studied the top 20 leagues, I think, or it may have been 50 leagues. Anyway, 197,000 goal kicks we went through to get all the So it's basically, it covers everything. So that's the detail there. Another great help to me was, and I think you've got Eric Ramsey coming on to present something at some point on player development from Man U. So he's a friend of mine, really, I'd say he's a great young coach, worked with the Wales national team. But he opened up a little bit to me about Ten Hag and how he likes building up, obviously at United. Gave me some ideas, but one of the key things that he said about it is that engrossed in build-up, that he's actually looks to play midfielders in central defence areas. Martinez being one that he brought in, who there was a lot of eyebrows raised in England when that happened. A 5'7" central defender just doesn't happen over here. And then his other favoured pairing at this time was Lindelof, who I think is Scandinavian anyway, but when he was brought up, his academy position was always a midfielder. So sort of going off on one, when I first put this presentation together, John Terry was in the building at Chelsea. So I presented this to him and he said, you know what, I'm looking at this and I'm watching football and it hurts me a little bit, but I can see them just getting rid of defenders and just playing midfielders at the back. And I've seen him just smiling like, well, do you know what, John? It's actually happening already. But the key thing around this presentation isn't about let's get rid of defenders. It's not that at all. My actual research was about, because I want to, working within the academy at the time, I want to develop defenders to be able to, play in the current and the future game. So that was obviously that. Brighton are just the best. They're the best at build up. So if you ever get a chance, want to watch goal kicks, they are unbelievable. They've not got the best players, but they're just ridiculous to watch. And I'll show a little bit tactically on them later. And then probably the last key one here was final. So when I went into Portsmouth, I'd been working 10 years as an academy coach, done all this studying on why we play out, why we build up, and all the stats and everything backs that we should play short from goal kicks. So I remember first game into Portsmouth, we dropped 6 players back, we passed the ball sideways, then it went back to the keeper. Next minute, the whole Fratton end is about 10,000 in the stand, just start booing. And I look at the manager and we look at each other. I'm like, oh my God, like this is like the whole of my footballing philosophy, and they're just booing it on my first game. So final, I went to another good friend of mine. So if you get a chance, the under-21s coach at final, a lad called Marvin, he helped me come up with some ideas which we've put into practice, and it's a bit of a happy medium. And I think we've got a great way of playing out now at Portsmouth. It's not something I can completely share because around our playing style, like we've got different variations depending on what teams do. So we keep that in house, but final were a massive help. So I've used this as a slide. So obviously, when I was at Chelsea, when I was putting all this together, and I went through all the defenders that have come through the academy, and the more I was looking at it, the more I was thinking, these are all so comfortable on the ball, and they're all. So when Nathan Ake came in, he was a midfielder. Reece James, I actually remember sitting down with Reece's dad and one of the other coaches because he was a midfielder, and we were saying, look, it's Reece actually isn't getting in our midfield. At this period in his age group, he had Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, and we had another young lad called Domingos Quina who were just excellent, and Reece wasn't getting in. So we said, look, let's try Reece at right back, see how he goes. And his dad and Reece were like, well, Reece actually wasn't happy about it, but his dad was like, yeah, I really see that. So anyway, that one worked out okay. Then Trevor Chalobah was a midfielder. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I put him in here loosely, but he played right back a few games last season under Graham Potter. And he's obviously a midfielder as well. And I'd probably attach to that Lewis Hall, who's a young lad who's just gone to Newcastle for £15 million. He's a central midfielder, but he's been playing left back. So it's really key that, throughout the development of defenders, they probably need to be exposed to playing in midfield at periods of their development. So just 3 key areas that I'll look at here. It's the risk versus reward of short goal kicks. What is the objective? And then key factors for success. Let me just... Okay, so the risk side of it, I think the starting point, why would we play short from a goal kick? It's the furthest point from the opposition goal. It's 100 yards or 100 meters or whatever. You kind of think, why are we wasting our time? Let's just lump it up and then play in their area of the pitch. Everyone kicks on all the time about, well, if you start building up, you're going to get counter-attacked and, it's not going to work for you. And probably the next one that really I've found is the pressures from the crowds. That the bottom one there. It's just been, what we've enjoyed at Portsmouth, and we've now found a way, as I've said, that really works. But that, we as coaches get nervous. So God knows what the keeper, the players on the pitch are feeling. And then the reward of it is obviously you've got the ball, so you can practice it on a training pitch. You have time to set up. And again, probably the key one, the rule change in 2019, I think it was, completely changed everything and just made it a lot more favourable to allow that first pass for teams to play. So what I'll do, this is quite heavy on the video, this presentation, and I know it's going to lag. So I'll try and commentate a little bit through it. But this was, I think, the first game of the season last year, Brentford Man U, and Man U playing out. So Ball into Ericsson, goes to play it around the corner, gets dispossessed, goal scored. That was played 100 times, whatever social media site you went on to, that was that was getting played. Why do we bother playing out? However, around that, sorry, no, I've changed this clip. This is actually us. This is my team now. I put it in. So this is Portsmouth. This was a couple of weeks ago against Leyton Orient. So this happened. So this is Leyton Orient kicking the ball long, as often happens. The big defender comes and nicks the ball. We win the second ball. Then a little bit out of sorts for Leyton Orient in the Reds. Cross comes in. They score an own goal. That, when we talk about that as a goal, all we talk about is, oh, it was a good move down the right, delivery, and then we scored. When we look at the other goal, all that you get, and I don't know if you ever get to listen to TalkSport, Alan Brazil, who's got a big platform over here in the UK. Everyone listens to it, and he gets everyone buying into what is the point in playing out. Well, I guarantee you that build-up goal where they nicked it and scored probably happens, I'm fucking a number out here, but I won't be far off, 5 times a season. That goal that we've just scored there, I've changed it because that happens, I reckon, 50 times a season, if not more, because it always come big kick, defender nicks the ball, and then you're under pressure. So
I wonder. Sorry to interrupt you, John, but I wonder. I mean, you mentioned I can't recall the number, but was it over 10,000 goal kicks or more? Sorry, it was more than that. It was
200,000.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So I was going to say 100, but I didn't want to misspeak. 200,000 goal kicks. I wonder if at some point in that analysis you could look at perhaps the goals that were scored or the scoring opportunities that came. And I agree with you. I think it's probably a lot more scoring opportunities and goals that are created from a longer kick where you just get a quick counter on the other end. Yeah, that's an interesting study maybe at some point. Yeah.
No, it is. So I actually I've got. So this is a slide. So this is. I think I've left the volume on this. See, I won't be able to talk through it if the volume's on, but this is a little bit. So Everton set up really good goal kick, but you can hear the pressures from the crowd. So if you just listen to this.
Yeah, we don't hear. I don't think we're getting the volume, but that's okay. Wow. Yeah.
So that doesn't often happen, and you don't set up a goal kick to score a goal. However, you can just sense there the early bits where the crowd are getting on the back, where they're playing short back to the keeper, and then when it gets to, I think it was Iwobi, you can hear them all screaming at him to turn, and then obviously they celebrate and they score a really good, well made goal from it. So what I've done is I've broken this down into risk and reward. So this is 2 parts of the study. So I completely get you don't set up a goal kick to score, and you probably don't set up a goal kick to not concede. They're not your main objectives. But just to kind of show you the risk versus reward, I've looked at over the course of per 1,000 goal kicks what the XG would be, and if you look at the pitch here, I've sort of broken it up. So, for example, the 18-yard box, with that first pass within the 18-yard box, an XG per 1,000 is minus 3.9 XG. So basically, per 1,000 goal kicks, you're going to concede, 3.9 goals, which isn't a particularly big figure. However, it's not good because it's like, when I got that, I thought, oh my God, like, it's not good to play short. This is really kind of working against everything that I believe in. So then I did it for this next area, and that covers kind of the left and the right back area. So if the first pass is to go out wide to either side, it's a minus 2.6 XG again. So again, not overly risky, but I'm looking at this thinking, well, why? There's no point in playing short. So the next one into this area here is a plus 2.1 XG, which again, it's minimal numbers. However, the thing with that, it's a bit of an outlier purely because there was very small frequency of goal kicks going in this area. And under more examination of it, it was actually Man City, Bayern Munich who get that first pass in there. And obviously, when you break it down, the reason is because everyone just drops off, so they just play along the ground to Rodri or whoever who picks the ball up in that area. So you have to discard that because that's dictated by how a team presses. So then, little clip ball into kind of, I guess, trying to visualize it, and maybe a number 10 who's just pops into a pocket of space. Again, massive, well, not massive, but more than double the short one. Minus 9.7 XG, which you can visualize it going into your small number 10 and like a big meat cake central defender coming, wiping him out, and then you're under pressure. So this next one, I always used to think of this as like under Mourinho at Chelsea, where they put Ivanovic up high and wide and clip onto him, and then they play off the second balls. But still, it's a minus 6.8 XG. So you get all these for everything playing in your own half. All the stats were showing that it's not good to play out. However, when I thought, all right, we'll kick the ball long, it's minus 6.9 XG. So the actual overall thing was telling me the risk of conceding a goal is obviously reduced when you play within that first third. If you look at it, minus 3.9, minus 2.6, compared to the numbers as you get higher up the pitch. This is the key one. Goal kicks, no matter what you do, are in favour of the team who don't have the ball. So my outtake, and I'll break it down a little bit more tactically in a second, is when you have a goal kick, your first thought is, we're not going to concede a goal. You know, what can we do to make sure we're locked off? Kicking the ball long isn't that. Maybe building up in a more structured way is that, but you're under pressure straight away from a goal kick. Clearly, state of game confidence levels, something you have to consider. You know, if you're 1-0 up in the 93rd minute, I completely get a team's going to overload their press, so maybe it's not right to build up then either. But then flipping it completely on its head, not even looking at the playing outside of it, when we are attacking with the ball, we can be braver. And if we have a shot and it misses the target, we're still in a better position than the team who have got the goal kick. So, you know, we can be braver with our attacking football. So that was what I got from there. To take this further, I had to have an objective. So I'll just play you this. This is it's about a 35-second clip of a few years ago when Sarri was manager at Chelsea. So Chelsea were 4-0 down. This is 35 minutes into the game, and they have a goal kick. And the commentary's on there, so I'll leave the commentary to run actually. It was basically a 30-second clip, not the most aggressive press from Man City, and the ball's back with the keeper. And there were opportunities to play forward, but this showed me, and this was typical of the Sarri era at Chelsea, where there wasn't overly an objective other than we want to have more of the ball than the other team. So that's completely the opposite of how I would want my teams to play out or build up. So to actually get a real study on this, when analysing them, I had to come up with a clear objective of what I wanted from goal kicks. So I think to have good possession in the opposition half is an objective, although there's no clarity on what is good possession. So when we put it into the computer for all these goal kicks, we wanted 3 passes in the opposition half. If we achieve that, other people might have different ideas. I completely get that, but just for this, that was what we went with: 3 passes in the opposition half. So slightly different kind of setup here. I didn't do this around XG now. So in that first area, I put it into the 18-yard box, and that kind of the thirds, excluding wide areas. So if first pass within that area gives you 28% chance of success getting 3 passes in that opposition half. If you play into the wider area, 24%, obviously, again, left and right side, that first pass, excuse me. And if you clip into the kind of the number 10, the between the lines area, it's 27% of achieving success. So overall, I kind of use that playing within your half gives you just over a quarter, 26.5% of having success. If you were to kick the ball long, 15%. Now, that was the real eye opener for me. So, okay, goal kicks aren't good for the team in possession of the ball. However, the opportunity of having success, you've got 77% more chance of success with that first pass in your own half. And that is statistically backed up with every goal kick up to, what was it about? It's probably 12 months ago from 196,000 on whatever goal kick. So that's factual. And that was, so next time, again, anyone listens to TalkSport, Alan Brazil, be prepared to ring in and batter him, because that is why we play short. Yeah. So yeah, and this is when we put all the data together. The analysts sent me this, and this basically just backs up. I can't actually see this on my screen. I don't know if you're sharing mine, but my picture of my face is over the top corner of it. But it's fine. So as long as you can see it. But this just backs up. Yeah, this backs up the volume of sorry, that's Man City there. This backs up the higher percentage of short goal kicks equals the higher opportunity of having success. So it's just a chart from all the and all them dots are all the teams that we had. This is one from Opta, which when I showed I forget whether it was Leipzig or Salzburg, but I had the Red Bull badge at the start. So someone from Opta now works for Red Bull, and I had some communication with him, and he shared a few slides with me. So up until the World Cup last year, this was the Premier League for percentage of goal kicks, where basically it says ending inside the box. Basically, that means where the first pass is within the box. So ignore Brighton on this one, because this was just prior to De Zerbi coming in. But basically, you've got Spurs on 62% playing short. Newcastle were a little bit of the outlier again, because they're successful at how they do it, but they don't often play short goal kicks. But an average of 41.5% in the Premier League of goal kicks are played short within the 18-yard box. And the reason I think this is important is because I'm looking from with my development hats on now, of why it's so important for our defensive players, defenders, keepers even, to be comfortable on the ball and to be brave to want to play out, especially when under pressure. And this is another slide that was shared with me. So an average of, if you look on the top here, this is the top 5 European leagues over 18, 19 and 19, 20. The average of short goal kicks, the average ball progression was 49 meters, compared to long goal kicks, the average ball progression. So this is after 2 transitions, but basically it shows, again, the evidence backs up. Short goal kicks, you're likely to get further up the pitch than you are with, on average, with long goal kicks.
John?
So that's the why. Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm stopping you now and again, and I want to remind everyone watching too. Please feel free to ask questions. But I just the analyst in me is just thinking. So you said right at the start, and you gave some examples from Chelsea's academy of kind of the players that ended up playing as a fullback or even a center back that had started out as midfielders, and kind of the technical demands of being able to play out from the back being such that perhaps these midfielders who are a little more comfortable on the ball and all of that are going to be more successful, let's say, being able to successfully play out of the back. And now you've got your metric, which is being able to, let's say, connect 3 passes in the opposition half. did you happen to look at whether or not the better teams, and perhaps those are the ones that have better players in the back, and maybe those are also the teams that have more midfielders in the back, did you look at whether those teams were more likely to get 3 passes in the opposing half? Or did you even look at, did the teams that had more players that started out as midfielders and converted to fullbacks and center backs have more success? Like, did you compare and contrast that at all, or?
So we actually got lots of data, and so the data analysts just filtered out what was actually more valuable for the presentation. So
right,
we probably have got that.
yeah.
But it's probably where I go back to, I mean, I'm very biased. I don't know what your favoured league to be watching is, but I'm clearly more biased to watching the Premier League, and Man U are obviously one that do it. To be fair to Brighton, they do build up, and they do have defenders in, who play as defenders. So I don't know the exact kind of sort of what would back that up, but yeah, they're all comfortable in playing in the ball. So it's probably more down to their development pathway. And what I'll do at the end, I show a practice that I delivered to the academy boys at Chelsea, which I felt was beneficial. There's hundreds, probably thousands of different practices out there, but it was just one that I created with I think every coach comes up with these sessions and they sort of nick a little bit from everyone else, but it's just one I came up with, so just as an idea. But yeah, ultimately we have to develop defenders who are comfortable on the ball.
Right, and it's I think it's a trend now you've shown. I mean, the average was above 40% already in the Premier League, and it's fairly tight, right? Like, you had a few outliers that, on the lower end, but I think it was fairly tight. So it's definitely a trend. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it will continue to go up. Especially everyone's looking at Brighton over here now, and they're doing it as well as anyone. So I think that's a bit of a trend that's on its way up. So yeah, so the factors to now gain success, and so I'll show some clips around all. So clearly transitions are key, because we want to have success, but more than anything, we don't want to have failure, which is conceding the goal scoring opportunity. So I'll break that down a little bit. So structure and close connections. This was something that Tuchel, when he was at Chelsea, always spoke about, and it's definitely been invaluable to me now going into Portsmouth. It's something we do so much work on rather than tactical stuff. Your players are always connected, and there's just like kind of a bit of a shared understanding of where your teammate's going to be. So we do a lot of work around that. And then ultimately, the bottom one, confidence to play, that's a job. So for any coaches, that becomes our job to give players confidence, not to batter them when they make a mistake, which can be quite an easy thing to do. But they're going to go into the shell. They're not going to want to carry on doing what you want them to do. So yeah, we have to allow them that freedom to make mistakes. So I'll stop this at some point. There's a couple of things around this one. So if you can see Frank Lampard's here in his so his team have got the goal kit, Everton in the pink. So as I play it, if I stop it now, his arms are up. So I don't know exactly here, but it's definitely one thing he's noticed, and that's the fact that they're not set up right. So Anana is clearly the target, probably their biggest attacking player, and he stood the wrong side of the pitch. But secondly, the two central midfielders, I think it's Tom Davies and Iwobi. So where I said about you have to be prepared for that defensive transition, their job will be to screen the two attacking, the number 10s, if you like, for Leeds. So if I play this on now, you see, as that ball goes down, they both go and then compete there for the ball, completely leaving the two number 10s. So now, the two number 10s, there is a little bit of work to do. Iwobi gets back, but it's too late. And again, a little bit of luck. However, that chance is created because they're not well set behind the ball. The players, they've obviously switched off. Again, I'll show you. So I actually remember watching this game. I have a feeling it was a Monday night game, and Leicester scored through. I forget who it was, but they scored through a goal kick themselves, and they've just conceded. So now, if you look at the time, they're under a lot of pressure here, just coming into half time. So they decide to squeeze the pitch up, probably like I've said, probably it's the right thing to do, and play from here. However, again, I won't stop this one, but if you look at the two defensive midfielders for Leicester here, rather than screening and being defence-minded, they both run towards the ball, or don't track runners, if you like, and then they get done on the transition, and the lad, the defender, ends up scoring an own goal. So both of them goals have come about by not being well organised behind the ball and not having that mentality of we need to protect the goal first. Their mindset is to go and chase the ball because they want to attack. So this was actually something that Tuchel did. So he would always set his goal kicks up this because he played like two midfielders in, I think that's definitely Jorginho. It might be Kovacic, but he played his two sort of deeper midfielders all the time. His three with wing backs, and then left the pitch big with his three strikers. So he always creates this big area in the middle of the pitch. But where I talk about connections, you can see they would always play because they would always know where their teammates were. So if Jorginho was shut off, then the ball might be on to play Rudiger or who. There was always options, and they would always get out. And if you ever get a chance, definitely in his Chelsea period, to have a look at some of his build-up play, it was incredible. And having watched training, he didn't work on it. All he did was work on players being connected in every possession that he did. Players were in their positions, and it just came out on the pitch. And that's something that we've took into our Portsmouth team, and we feel we're in quite a good place with it. So that's just a screenshot of something he did. This here is basically Brighton. So I've attached a video clip to this after. So this is how Brighton in the blue set up when playing out against Chelsea. So we're in this period, so they're 7v5. So you'll find a lot of teams talking about in a build-up phase having a +1 or a +2, which is a bit of a gimmick word, but +2 is an opportunity to play. +1, well, in my opinion, isn't an opportunity to play. In this scenario here, it's a 7v5, so it's a +2. So Brighton will always play here. Oh, sorry, that was just a still. Yeah, so they'll always play in these scenarios. So if I then take that into this shot, I'll just let this play through. But you can see they've got it's a 7v5 in the build-up area. Again, they're connected, and they end up getting out. So they will always play in these scenarios. I did have another clip there. So this is, again, I'll let this play. So it's the same setup. We've got 6, and there's 5 pressing. So they'll always play. And this is just, I showed this to our team at Portsmouth, saying if we ever get to this level, then we know we're doing something right. But they're prepared to, because they're always connected. They're prepared to play out from the back under pressure. And then when they do break that first press, they've got forward runners on the back line. And then from that goal kick, they end up winning a corner. So they will always play. If there's a +2, they will always play. So this is, I think, the very first line I've probably said about goal kicks and build-up phase. Yeah, I've only really shown goal kicks. Obviously, because it's the clearest picture where teams always set up and it's easier to talk through. This was when Graham Potter had first come in at Chelsea, and they played, I think it was Salzburg in the Champions League. But as I play this here, the ball goes back to Kepa. And this moment, as I pulls that, you can see Jorginho pointing at Kepa, telling him to stop it. Kepa's foot on the ball. And this was a big thing that Tuchel brought in again to Chelsea, where, and you see all teams doing it now, where they put the foot on the ball, they almost allow everyone to get into shape around the pitch. And it's actually quite nice when the opposition are in shape as well, because it's almost becomes like a game of chess, and you can figure out, how they're pressing, where the overload is. And that's literally what he's doing. So then from this moment, Chelsea get set. They're all really well connected. As ever with a press, teams try and force one way. So if you can get out of that press and get the ball out the other side of the pitch, which is really difficult, but they do it incredibly well here. They create a good goal scoring opportunity and should score. But the actual whole build-up probably stems from the fact that Kepa's put his foot on the ball, everyone's got in their shape, and then everyone knows where everyone is. So it's a real good tool. So ultimately, from goal kicks, what can we learn? There clearly is value in short goal kicks. Obviously, the data back that up. Patience and structure is key. There's no need to rush everything. That last tip probably highlights that. Get yourself set, slow the game down. Really key, which gets overlooked. Then transitions need to be managed. You have to understand that you are under more pressure and you're more likely to concede a goal than you are score a goal. So you have to manage them transitions. Again, transfers over to build up play and flipping it. Goal kicks are in favour of the pressing team. So I've just got a few. Sorry, that one slipped there. So basically, I don't want to. Someone send me these these three different variations of playing out. I don't like the wording, but this is like something that Bielsa put together, and I've kind of put my own wording around it. So the three different ways are to isolate a dominant player in 1v1, probably more likely to be an aerial one, to create a tactical setup where you can play between the lines. But what I like to look at is creating overloads. So for me, an overload is in that build-up phase. If you can have a +2, I don't like a 7v5. I think it's we want to do what we can to have a +2, but with fewer numbers. However, I also look on the back line where if it's a 4v4 or a 3v3, in my eyes, I know the figures don't back it up, but that is an overload. I would always back like my team, even if you're only going to have 40% chance of success. If it's a 3v3, I would always just play straight into that. And I want teams to press us, so we play into we then end up playing direct for that purpose. But again, there has to be an objective when doing it. So this is again similar example of Brighton. The 7v5, they play out. I mean, this is one of many variations where they look to play out, getting beyond, and then they get forward runners on the back line. So this is the one I've just shown. Oh, yeah, so there you go. So you've got the 5v4 on the back line. So again, they're not going to play that. And now they've got 7v5 in a big area of the pitch. So this is that exact same clip again. We just painted it. Apologies there. So then this is the next one. So this is when teams, and this is what I love, when teams overpress and they leave that 4v4 on the back line. This is where we need to do what we can just to go and play into that that overload for the attacking setup. So they do. They almost have an NFL signal here, where if you watch the keeper, he'll pick the ball up and do a little backspin of the ball, and that's their tee. Right, we're now going to go straight. So like the two midfielders open up the pitch. You've got that 4v4 on the back line, and they know that ball's going into there, and their job. Everyone behind the ball, it's their job to sprint and support. And they have, I mean, they have dozens of different ways of playing out, but that's something that, you know, teams, if they want to go and press, that they end up getting exposed to. Sorry, that's that. So this was when I was looking around at all the different teams who were having a lot of success. This was Napoli, and I think, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Gattuso was manager there at the time. With this, what it is, the red dot is their average ball progression from short goal kicks, and obviously the size of it, the bigger the dot means the more frequency of short goal kicks they play versus the blue, which is long goal kicks. So again, that's average ball progression versus the volume of long goal kicks they play. So obviously, the one I'm looking at here is Napoli, which was quite an interesting one because, like, the volume of short goal kicks they play is such a high number. So I just kind of studied them, and I mean they're quite crazy how they play. But you can see within their 18-yard box, including the keeper, they have 5 players. The 2 fullbacks drop deep, and they do this every single goal kick, no matter what. It's so risky, but they were getting out, and they just have a real nice way of playing. Obviously,
maybe it's not so risky though, eh, John?
Well, yeah, of course.
Right.
Yeah, I'm completely going against everything I say here. But,
yeah, but I know what you mean. When you first see it, you're like, oh man, you know, they've got 3 guys on their own goal line. I just want to stop you if you don't mind, because a couple of questions have come in.
Go on.
Yeah, one is from Mayor. Great to hear from you again. I think he's in Spain. Yeah. So he's always asks excellent questions on all of our webinars and videos, and so he's asking and it's, you may have to go back a bit for this, but is the positional advantage included in what you call qualitative superiority? So I think, you know, qualitative superiority, I guess, you know, you're talking numbers up, 775 or whatever, but is positional advantage included in qualitative superiority?
If I'm being honest, so when someone sent me them 3, I was looking, I'm like, because one of my pet hates is when people make the game really complicated. I like it as simplified as possible. So it may come under that, but I genuinely, I had to Google it. I'm like, I don't fully understand what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So that was why I kind of use my own terms and what I believe they are.
Right.
So it could be, but I'm not a fan of people trying to make football more complicated than it is, which is probably something I've completely done here myself anyway. But yeah, I don't know. My take, I just prefer getting overloads, and if it's ideally high up the pitch, which I'm guessing is the positional part of it. But yeah, I just look where we can get an overload. That's where we're going to play. That's my sort of take out, and that's how my Portsmouth team play as well.
Awesome. Yeah. So there is another. Yeah.
Sorry, you go.
Yeah. There is another question, but it's about De Zerbi and a different formation. So maybe we can keep going, and we'll ask that question after from Tony.
Okay. So, of course. Yeah. So again, I've just got a couple of other ways, and then I show how I've done it within training. So this is Fulham Man U. So obviously I'm looking at Man U, and again, this is the reason why Man U want midfielders playing in their central defence areas, because they want them to be comfortable on the ball. So it's Martinez on the ball. He's going to roll the ball to De Gea and then just run forward. And if you look, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but this Fulham player here, Harry Wilson, they try and force him to make a decision. So I've got 2 goal kicks, and within them, he makes one decision, then the other decision. So you'll see what I mean. So look, ball's played, he just runs forward. So he stayed with Martinez, and Luke Shaw gets the ball. Some really, really good play here. But they get out, and it creates a goal scoring opportunity. I think it's Rashford, the ball arrives at the far post. Great ball. should score. So now the next one, Martinez plays it, and Harry Wilson, De Gea actually does really well here. Doesn't rush it. Now Harry Wilson goes and blocks off Luke Shaw, and this is why he wants midfielders to just to step in and then break that initial press. They don't actually get as far up the pitch in this one because there's a transition there, but I think the main thing is beating that first press. So that was that's a Man U kind of way of playing. And then sometimes if all else does foul, even though this isn't a goal kick, and you do find yourself man for man at the back, and you've got Haaland up front, and you've got Ederson in goal, you can just launch the ball like this around the keeper and just bang it in the back of the net. Obviously, it helps when you've got the best players in the world, but you know, that's completely. They actually earn that because teams want to come and press them, and they're left isolated at the back, and you know, that's just something that Man City can do that I don't think many other teams can do, and that's also a key reason why I think keepers who not only have got good distribution but are comfortable with, have got really good distance on their kick as well, becoming kind of the trend at the moment. So I'll just take it into training now. So this is during my time at Chelsea. A session I put on. People will be able to look at the session and question why I've done it on this pitch size, etc. And there's probably no valid reason. So basically, it's a 3-team practice, 3 teams of 6, and within this, you've got like you're playing. I should have gone to the width for the 18-yard line, but I think with this it was like a match day +2 or something. So we were trying to just tone down the distances that the boys were covering. That's the only reason I brought it in. But the idea was to have an 18-yard box plus 6 yards. So the practice would always start with a goal kick. So if you can see, there's 2 playing out zones. So from this first one, the playing out zone was an 18-yard plus 6 yards. The first pass, the 3 players pressing would have to start outside the 18-yard box as a goal kick. And then the team would have to build, once they've made 4 passes, they can then transfer the game. Transfer the ball to the other team. So you can see there, that was a back 4, and then every team was set up like this way in possession. So if you look here, you've got the 3 attackers on the edge of the 18-yard box. They'll be ready to press. And then the next 3 players, they have to stay in this middle zone. So they're kind of working as that backup press where they're shuffling along, blocking any forward pass. But I put another condition on where if the build-up team, rather than transfer it, punch the ball into one of these mini goals, the goal's worth 2. So the 3 players sliding had to really protect the middle. And the reason I do this, it was more a personal thing where I like my teams when they're building to play against the press rather than play with the press. So an example, if my right centre-back's on the ball and the number 9's pressing, forcing play out to the right back, and the ball goes to the right back, which sounds great. Now all of a sudden the right back is just squeezed in, it's got no option, and it is a high risk of a turnover. Whereas I like it when I've got the right centre back who's on the ball. As that press is coming in, he's capable of playing like a reverse pass into a midfielder, and then we get out the other side of the pitch. And if you look at most successful goal kicks, they kind of go one side and then out the other because the team's obviously over pressing one way and leaving space on the opposite side of the pitch. So that was why I put the mini goals in there. I've explained that because a lot of people have challenged me on why I've done that. Right. So obviously the objective is to play forward progressive passes. So this was, I just showed 2 clips of it. This was the practice in action. And it's a 7v3, so the players should have success.
Right.
So you can see the 3 screening and working across, trying to block them lines. They've made their passes now, and the midfielder plays forward. So that was the first one. So now you see the bottom end team have got the ball.
some really good quick play there. I wasn't a big fan of the end of it because it's gone in, and I think in a game that left back would have been penned in, but there was some really good build-up play. And the reason I like this practice is because you've got 6 players building up in probably a third of the area that they would be building up in a real game situation. And it shows how easy it is. It's also designed for them to have success because only 3 were going in. I ended up progressing this so they could send 4 in, which also did work well. It got a little bit messy because obviously when the ball was transferred, there was only 2 players ready to go the other end, and you ended up having 2 doing a hell of a lot of work. But the idea from this practice as a development, kind of improving players on the ball, building up under pressure, really did work well. So this is one I liked. And I reiterate, nothing to do with me. However, shortly after that practice, this was a goal that team scored from a goal kick, and everything about it. So the players were just instruction. There was no like tactical agreement where it was like, when you get it, you play here. It was just players being able to handle the ball under pressure. And like the point I've said, they've gone one side of the pitch, worked it out to the opposite side, and then you'll see it here. So probably like a 4v2 overload in that deep area of the pitch because they're playing a back 3. So now under pressure, defender does really well. And now at this point, because they're really pressing one side of the pitch, they break out. That's actually a right wing back on the ball, breaks out, and they score a goal. So I'm not 100% how clear that's been on your screens, but it was not so much a good. Well, I hope you did, but it's not so much a tactically well worked goal as opposed to the boys just comfortable on the ball and understanding where their teammates are going to be. So I'll finish on this slide that I showed a minute ago. Basically, goal kicks, just backs everything up. Definitely, this is why I strongly believe in goal kicks, and I think we can educate as many people out there as possible on why we do it. I think the better for any coaches out there, because we're the ones who always get slaughtered for telling them to play the ball short. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope that was good for you all to take anything from it if possible.
Fantastic. Yeah, John, thank you very much for that. I wanted to start. So Tony LaFerrara, who's our technical director at our association and a good friend of mine, and so he's saying, thank you for your wonderful presentation. If possible, can you expand on 2-4-2-2 De Zerbi's build-up structure and the third man concept that he uses in his build-up from the back?
Sorry, right. So if I find a slide, this might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
So was it more like? Okay, right. So I know exactly what it means. Yeah. So So I mean, they're just really clever at how they play, and their teams are always connected. But when I actually done this study, they were playing 4 on the back line, as I've set up here. But now what they've started to do, because I think teams are adjusting to sort of their style of goal kicks. I genuinely think the word great it isn't too much to use for him, because I think he's incredible. But what they now do, because teams are just setting up and being quite comfortable with this, they're bringing their 2 attacking players, the 2 central ones, they start bringing them deeper. And what that actually does, I can use my cursors. These central defenders have a real big problem. So if one goes and 2 of them drop in, they've got the overload, so they'll play it. If they don't go, if neither of the defenders go, then again, the 2 attackers have got that overload, they'll play and they'll turn and there'll be a 4v4, which they're happy with. But what I think they really want is both of the defenders to come in deep. And then you'll find the wide players that they start really wide and they just run in. They make that sort of inward run. I forget the left winger's name. I've forgotten his name, but he's ridiculously fast. Again, he's another bargain player they bought, but he's hurting teams for fun at the moment, and he is basically start wide, give these fullbacks a problem, and they just make that out to win run. I think that's what the question was kind of alluding to, but yeah, they're just so clever at beating that initial press in the deeper area and then opening teams up. And then once they beat that first press, they go at such speed. They really are great to watch. They really are.
The third man ends up being I'm pointing with my finger anyway, but the third man ends up being the wide players there, right? One of the two.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm not. I think I've got this right, but the wide players stay wide. And it gives it, like, I used to be a fullback myself, and it's horrible when you're isolated 1v1 in them situations. But they stay wide, and as soon as then that ball breaks the press, or sometimes straight from the keeper, they just run in, and then that ball's played on the blind side of the fullback, and it really gives them problems. It really does. Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'm looking at other questions. So Paul has asked a question, which I think maybe I know you alluded to initially, and I kind of had asked you earlier on in the presentation about, and maybe this is a simple way that he's asked it, is does it all depend on the quality of players? Like, is this something that a coach, I mean, obviously in our association, we're working with a lot of youth amateur coaches, academies, clubs, etc. in Canada. We don't all have the quality maybe that you have in the pro game, and so what would you have to say about that question?
Yeah, it completely does depend on the quality of the player completely, and that's when I first went into this, it was with a development head on, thinking what do we need to do to get our players to this level, and it's basically just going to be hard work and patience as coaches to develop these players so that they can do it. So I don't think for 1 minute it'll be like one of them where, right, this is what we're going to do and it's going to work in the next game. It's a long-winded process, and even with our team. So we're going into Portsmouth. I went in and we just encouraged them to play without giving them too much structure for the first few weeks. And then I remember sitting down with mainly the defensive players and doing a long presentation on, this is what we're going to do. Anyway, so I think the first 4 games we drew 1 and won 3, so we was in a real good place. I was like, all right, this is a good time to share this. We got battered 3-0 in that game just because the other team pressed the life out of us. So we had to be patient with it. We're now in a place now where we get a goal kick. I actually genuinely feel more confident that we're going to hurt another team than they're going to hurt us, because I feel like we're in that good a place. But it took patience, and that's with good players. I completely get that. But depending on what stage or what level of team you have, it's hard work, it's patience, and I think as long as you give them the structure, and you do have to give them the structure, that's the starting point, and you have to decide what that structure is. My personal opinion, as good as De Zerbi's structure is, I don't think it's for everyone, because this is you're basically inviting the team to come and press you. I think if you can find a way that you can play out where they're not pressing with as many players, and that's maybe needing more players further up the pitch, then that'll be better for your team. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good answer. Very thorough answer for sure. I have it's a question, and I don't know if this happens in the UK, but here where we are in Ontario, in Canada, for several years now, there's been a rule that's been instituted in some of the youth leagues, which is that there's something put in called a retreat line. So a retreat line.
Okay. Yes, I've heard of this.
I don't know. Again, I mean, I personally really don't like it, because essentially the idea with a retreat line is that they're forcing the defending team on a goal kick beyond a certain distance in order to allow, quote unquote, allow the other team that has the goal kick to try to play out of the back if they want to. And you know, I think you've shown quite a bit of video clips and pictures and everything to show that the decision to play out also should be made based on what the defending team is doing, not just because. And
yeah,
you know, if there are other opportunities, you know, isolating players in other scenarios or whatever, that you don't do it. So I guess the first question is, do they use a retreat line at all in the youth system where you are, and what do you think of that concept?
So I have actually seen this. I think MK Dons years back were trying to implement it. And at the time, I didn't overly have an opinion, but now I've looked into this more. My personal take is maybe to a degree at certain young ages, let's get the boys playing, get them confident. However, I kind of feel to really get any success, you have to expose yourself to potential failure. And you are going to fail. You know, it's fine, and that's our job as coaches to you know, to, as long as they're trying to do the right things, that's our job. And genuinely, we got beat 3-0 the first time I did it. We did not go into the players and have a go at them. We went in and almost put our hands up, saying, you know, we'll have to take this one because we've told you to do something that right now you're not completely comfortable with, and we probably did it too early. So, you know, it doesn't matter what level you are, you have to understand that players' confidence levels can be knocked. So us as coaches, we have to accept failure and maybe take that failure away from the players. So I'm not a fan of that line, but I understand why it could help at times.
Right, fair enough. I think it's a great point that you made too, that, you know, we have to be comfortable with failure, and certainly you can't expect teams to try this at the youth level, to try it in training and think that it's going to be successful all the time. So what are the strategies that can be used in league competition and everything to hopefully get the best chances of long-term success? And yeah, you're right, they need to be exposed to opposition that presses them and makes it difficult for them to play out, and then you would expect they'd become better at playing out against that type of opposition. So yeah,
I think so. I completely think so. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna just check. You know, we still have about 30 people on here. I don't know if anyone else has any more questions for John. Doesn't look like it. Oh, okay, Paul again. Do you allow for players? Sorry, do you allow for players' creativity? That's the question. So I wonder.
Yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah, I do. I think that's a real good question within probably every coach, and yeah, I love it. I completely love it. I mean, that's why I don't completely say this is how we play out. We paint pictures for players. Our actual training style is very kind of just trying to get the players to gain relationships rather than, you know, when you get it, you play it here and then you make this run. And you know, I don't think I've seen fortunately in my time at Chelsea, I've seen so many different variations of successful coaching. So 2 examples. I spoke about Tuchel, where he's very much, I loved him, but he's very much behaviours. The opposite end of the spectrum, who was probably more successful in many ways in the Premier League, was Conte. So he was very tactical playthroughs. When you get it, you play here, you do this. But ultimately, he won the league because he allowed Hazard the freedom to be creative and do his own thing. So, you know, I don't think you can have a successful team without allowing creativity. You know, it's a decision-making sport. If you take that decision out of the game, then not only are you killing the enjoyment, but you've got good players there. Let the players make their decisions, and as young players, they're only going to improve if you if they have that freedom to make decisions. So, this is probably going away from goal kicks, but we've even done sort of small-sided games where we encourage them to do various skills. Like the goal only counts if you can do a skill before you score. You've just got to try and create an environment where players can try these things, and again, it goes back to be prepared to foul. Not be scared of failing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I love creative. I love the players to make their own decisions and do what they feel is right.
Right, great. And yeah, I think in your video there, you had the one, I guess it was a fullback that played his way out almost from his own goal line, right?
Oh, in the very last video, I think it was.
Yeah. So he that lad's actually just gone on loan to Peterborough, they play in our league. Sir Alex Ferguson's son's the manager there.
Wow.
But yeah, he
was actually a player that we signed from Brighton about 2-3 years ago, and was technically very raw, and we had to be patient with him and encourage him to to kind of try things and make mistakes, and now he's kind of doing things like that in games. So yeah, it definitely pays off, patience and accepting that they're going to make mistakes.
Great, yeah, thank you. So yeah, any other questions? There's a couple about the videos which I'll get to, and we'll speak about that right when we wrap things up. But I don't know if anyone else has anything they'd like to ask. Yeah, I think we're good now. So, okay, so I'll thank you so much, John. This was an awesome presentation and really informative too. Some unique information, and you made goal kicks much more interesting to me for sure. So, thank you for that. And
thank you.
We'll definitely look forward to more information from you and from Complete Sports Solutions in future webinars. Everyone that's watching, again, I know there were some questions about the video. So, of course, we record everything, and NSCAC members have full free access to 100% of our video content, including, the video that's going to come out of this and the hundreds of other videos. Now we're in the hundreds, webinars and presentations from top coaches from all over the world, from our own coaches, from everyone. So just if you're a member, you have access. You'll have access soon. If not, please consider. You can go to nscac.ca. I know Marvin earlier in this presentation mentioned about not just the online webinars and coach education that we're doing with Complete Sports Solutions, but also the UK tours, which are really exciting and a great opportunity. So go onto our website for that. And again, John, thank you so much. Good luck with the club this year and with everything else that you're doing. And we'll look forward to hopefully staying in touch and seeing you again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks everyone for jumping on as well. It's been enjoyable.
All right. Have a good evening, I guess, where you are, right?
Yeah. It's dinner time now.
All right. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.